Lisa with Three Piece Podcast.
Hi, I'm Sonny from the UK from Three Piece Podcast.
And our third P making up our podcast is Arthur. Hello, Arthur from the UK.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. I am outnumbered again by the brand.
UK takes over.
It seems like every week we have somebody from the UK and I'm always outnumbered.
Love it.
Like I say in our other ones, if I do this, that means I have no idea what the word meant you just said.
Yeah, forever explaining what certain words are. I don't want to say the one. What's the one that was the word I told you what spunk to mean? Was it spunked?
Or quid. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah,
like
quid. I said, I think I said I spunked a load of money, and she's like, "You spunked? You spunked what?" And a quid. She said, "What's a quid?" I said, "A pound." She said, "What do you call it? A pound?" I said, "Yeah, but you call it a dollar. What do you call a dollar?"
A dollar.
Yeah, other than a dollar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you've lost.
Yeah. All right. So how this became, how we are sitting here today, because I think back in 2020, I came across this brand that both Sonny and I are wearing, and I kind of read about it, and it gave back to mental health, and what the brand represented really, really hit me. And I had just lost my sister, and I was, I guess, trying to find a purpose of what I could do and how I could give back and everything. And just out of a whim, I was like, you know what? I'm going to write to this brand and see where this takes me. So lo and behold, I wrote this letter, and the very next day I got a letter back from Arthur, and I was like over the moon. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So we just kind of started going back and forth, with text and Instagram and everything. Well, then I hired a social media lady, and she was like, okay, let's, promote this brand on your social media. And that's how I became the Young Goat Addict. And several months after going back and forth, I begged Arthur if I could become his brand ambassador. And he said yes. And here we are, what, 2 3 years later. And I met Sonny through Instagram. I asked him if he would, promote the brand.
And that's crazy because that was mental health, because I was going through some bad stuff at the time. And me and Lisa kind of spoke, and she said, all your posts seem so bubbly and happy and everything. When we actually spoke, she said, you're just so like grounded, and you seem a bit like distant from what your posts are. And I said, yeah, but that's just the front, what social media brings. And then that come about that the brand was all about mental health as well. And I thought that's brilliant, and that just drew us in. And once Lisa's claws are in, you can't get away, as Arthur knows. 3 years.
Oh, we're delighted for it.
I have to reply, otherwise I get 19 missed calls. She's on me.
So Arthur, when you got that letter from this crazy person in the US, how did the brand come about, and then you deciding, okay, we're going to give back to mental health? Because to me, when I see this goat, that's what, to me, it represents. And this is so, what is the word I'm looking for? It just hits me, because to me, this is how I found my purpose.
Yeah, well, thank you firstly for that introduction. Well, to discuss how the brand came about, we're going to wind back the clock to 2015, when I was a very shy 18-year-old boy who had just started university at Bristol. And I got involved playing for the university football club. And I can't pinpoint exactly why this was happening, but for some reason or other, boys in the older years were calling me the GOAT. And I feel like I hadn't done anything to sort of merit this title. I hadn't like played that well in the game. I really didn't think I'd done anything special. But as a shy kid, it made me feel really nice and warm inside. And as I got older, I began to reciprocate that with the younger years. And I kind of realized that it was this term of inclusion. And it was all about assimilating the younger years into the whole group and community. And it was just a really lovely thing to be involved with. Friendship spanned over 4 years. And it kind of felt that we were slightly unstoppable as a club. And it was the most successful period in the history of the University of Bristol Football Club. We just won title after title in all the different teams. And when the kind of idea of actually turning it into a brand came about, we just thought back at the 4 years I'd had at uni. And I remember thinking, why can't everyone feel like this? And we kind of came up with the idea that the acronym shouldn't be solely reserved for sports stars and celebrities. It was ubiquitous across that world. Your Michael Jordans, Serena Williams. It was just a popular term, and we just wanted to capture that, but just transform it slightly so that everyone could kind of have that same feeling. And so it was then about just wearing a goat on your chest, going out, being your best self, and that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, that's crazy. I guess that's that sense of acknowledgement. If you're shy and you've got the bold people like myself, I walk in a room and I'm loud as you like, and there's people who sit in the background, and then but being acknowledged that you are there and you are included, and then treating you like the people that you respect the most there, think, oh, I'd love to be like them, but they actually acknowledge you to be like that. And so you can be whoever you want to be. You just have to be in a group where you feel supported.
Absolutely. And, that really filtered down, and it just kind of kept snowballing as, I then became fourth year. That was the first year I think we actually had a mental health officer within the club.
Yeah.
And we were kind of really trying to manage these younger year relationships just to try and get people feeling as good as they can. It's a very daunting thing for some people starting university. You're moving city, sometimes moving country. It's a whole new set of friends. It's living on your own for the first time for a lot of people. So it can be quite scary. And so I thought whatever we could do to make people's experience better, that would be.
Give them a club with like a boost. So when they walk out the other door, they walk out like Conor McGregor with their shoulders all that.
Exactly.
That's amazing though, isn't it? Because like you say, when some people when they go to university, they've always lived with their parents, they've always been surrounded by their friends, and they end up in a little dorm room, maybe sharing it with somebody they don't know, and feel like a bit like secluded.
Exactly, you can feel isolated for sure. And I look back to how I was as an 18-year-old. I was very shy, and I was not the person who walked into a room and just filled it with noise and energy. But I feel like I sort of am that person now. So the personal growth that I've had, I just kind of thought if at least if one person could experience that sort of transformation that I felt, then that would be a positive impact on the world.
Yeah. Now, so the name Young Goat came from because you wanted to start from like a young age, or like from people as young as you could.
So we know what the acronym is. I mean, I'll just make sure that everyone listening to the pod knows that GOAT means greatest of all time, and we're not just calling people goats. So that's an important clarification. And I think the concept of Young Goats, I was 21 when we originally thought of the brand name, but also there was a kind of aspirational element to being a young goat. Like you weren't the fully finished article yet, but you were developing and growing exactly. And so it's kind of like, right, this is a good stage to start at until you become the ultimate goat.
Well, it's funny because when I sit here and look at the logo, it does look like, to me, a young little baby goat. You know what I mean? I did nearly get it tattooed on me just so I could show Lisa.
Really?
Wow. When Lisa said, "Don't do it," and she said, "You only know Lisa like a year." I said, "Yeah, but that coat is just so cool, and I could just have it randomly somewhere on me, just so it's always see I could do it."
Now, know the guys before university?
No, we all met while playing football. So it was 6 guys with completely different backgrounds from different parts of the UK who came together through a shared love of playing football, basically. But as I mentioned, the social element around it meant that we became quite fast friends.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just, these were the guys I was turning up to train and then play matches with. They were then the people I was hanging out with and spending time with throughout the week. So yeah, pretty crazy story, And then even starting the brand, all 6 of us, no fashion experience, no business experience.
You done well though,
just
because I looked on the website and I went, do you know what? That's just lovely. And the material, I was like, I wasn't expecting that. When Lisa said, oh, I'm going to send you a tracksuit, when I got it, I said, well, it's so thick and it's made so good. I thought you ain't getting Fruits of the Loom t-shirts anymore. They've actually like gone up that scale.
Well,
No,
and
I
the
mean,
fact that 6 guys, made such an amazing quality,
Very great,
Yeah.
no, we sort of realized we can't be speaking about the things we're saying, and also we can't really call ourselves Young Goat with all of that, the weight of actually having the acronym in your brand name and then just produce bad quality clothing. It doesn't really work. So yeah, we made sure from the off that we wanted to just make genuinely super high quality clothing. And yeah, the actual design, we made there's a website called Vistaprint. I don't know if it exists in the US.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I kind of made one of those t-shirts and wore it around uni. And I had the brand identity in my head, but I just wanted to test the design. And it worked. I was walking around uni, people going, "Oh, I like your t-shirt," and I was like, "Well, I've made it myself," kind of thing. And then the other boys, they all got their own too, and it kind of we could then just test the concept and the design in different friendship groups. And once we'd sort of, even then it was a massive risk what we did, and a lot of people looked at me kind of like, are you sure, mate? Like, you don't know what you're doing. I've just been at uni with you for 4 years and you're an idiot. So I was like, yeah, fair enough. I understood people's reservations, but I think we all believed in the concept. And, I believed in the brand because, as I mentioned, I had been through that sort of transformative process that I was trying to preach about as a brand.
Yeah.
Hey, no risk, no reward, right?
That is,
Yeah. So
it's such a shame though, because that was going, like say, that seemed to be going so fast, and even the website looked like all the upgrades and all the stuff and all the photos. I was waiting for my photo shoot. I was like, yeah, I'll be there soon.
No, it was yeah, well, thank you. It was always something we just wanted to be a good, reputable brand,
Did you struggle to find who to make the clothes then? Because like say your Vistaprint, where was the next stage to finding that, that material and
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. I always tell people who come to me for advice now about starting a clothing brand that finding a manufacturer is easy. Finding a good manufacturer is very difficult. So once, you have to go through a lot of trial and error and a lot of testing of rubbish until you eventually find the right one. And then a lot of money too. And also the ones we eventually made the hoodies from, manufacture in Portugal. We've got great textile industry, so they do really high quality stuff, but their minimum order quantities are 300 per color. So if you want to buy a set of hoodies, we bought 6 hoodies colors in one go. So that's immediately 1,800 hoodies that are just landing on your doorstep, staying in your room. So your life just becomes boxes. And
I love the video you did on TikTok. And didn't you misorder something and all you had thousands of boxes or hundreds and hundreds of boxes?
We got the quantities wrong a few times, and it made the living quarters almost uninhabitable. To be honest, it was just a nightmare. But you live and you learn.
Yeah, ended up with padded walls.
Yeah.
That was so good. Oh my gosh. And then I don't know how much you want to touch about this, but when I came in to just right when I was starting to reach out to you guys and everything, you guys had an unfortunate thing happen with one of your mates that it was huge in London, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was I mean, a really, really difficult sort of few months, I suppose. You know, we were just doing our website relaunch, launching all the new products from Portugal. And then on the day we were supposed to launch, we heard that Ollie had died, and you know, it was, yeah, it was absolutely horrible to go through. And but I guess fortunately, at least I had the brand and my friends who were, you know, we all met up the next day because we did have to do some sort of work to strategize about what would happen in the coming week. And at least then I could share my pain with other
Yeah.
people immediately, and it made, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. So the fact that we could all be together, I think, was massively helpful. You know, even though it's still a difficult thing to process.
Yeah. That's terrible.
And
So
then what made you guys, so before even Ollie had passed, you guys gave back to mental health. And then after Ollie had passed, I think that's when you guys did the stuff with Black Minds Matter. Um,
Exactly.
um, and you know, and I was reading about how the UK, to me, um I don't know. I read that, you know, they give free mental health therapy for African American men and stuff like that. And I don't know how big that is there. But like we don't have anything here. And when I read that, I just thought, oh my gosh, and they're giving back to that. That's such an amazing thing. Um, how did that all come about? Like,
So initially, again, winding back the clock to when we first started the brand back in Bristol, we felt that through our time at university, the mental health provisions were really poor at the university. And while we didn't begin out as a mental health clothing brand, such as Boys Get Sad Too, who they donate 10% of every sale to Mind, we kind of felt that it was inherent, good mental health was inherently linked to our identity because it was all about being your best self and feeling good in
yeah.
your own skin. And so it began just by partnering with a few local Bristol charities who we had donation options to on our website when we launched. We had you know, specific sections of our website just promoting them. We promoted them on our Instagram, and we did sales to raise money for them as well, just because we felt like it was for sure worth it to give back to the Bristol community that we'd all met. And you know, we could do as much talking as we want about how we want people to feel good in our own skin, but there are professionals who can do a lot better work than we in ensuring that people can experience that. So
mhm.
yeah, that was always something that was important to us. And as we got bigger, we kind of partnered with a few more charities, but it was always something that was in our mind as a business that we wanted to do and not cut any corners with. And like you mentioned, after Ollie, we did a big partnership with Black Minds Matter, who, again, like you say, they just provide free therapy for Black individuals, but done by a Black therapist as well, which I think is really important because there's that shared experience within the therapy room where someone who hasn't experienced the same things that they have might not be able to, then you know, it becomes a bit more of an explanation and you don't feel as safe in the space, and that's quite obviously an important thing. So yeah, it's definitely always been something that we wanted to achieve, and you know, we've raised, and because of people's generous giving on our website and in sales, we've raised over £15,000 for mental health charities in the time we were open. So it was you know, people really responded to it, resonated with it, and it was just fantastic from our end to see.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And you know, it's so funny because when it, you know, when I decided to, you know, reach out and stuff, when I was talking to my social media coach, I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to co-brand with them on a charity event, you know, like all this stuff, because I was so drawn to this brand and what you guys did, you know, and here I'm a girl, you know, loving fashion and everything. And I'm like, God, 6 guys did this, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, that's really, really cool because it doesn't happen often. And it doesn't happen that you guys, you know, then these 6 guys are giving back to the brand or where you started in college and everything, because you knew there was a lack of this, you know,
Yeah.
support there. And I was going through such a hard time. And like I said, I was trying to do real estate school, and I'm sitting here hours and hours on end watching these professors. And I'm just like, this isn't me. This is not me. But something sparked when I just came across you guys, and I was like, you know, this is it. Like, I need to do something with mental health, with losing my sister, losing my best friend. And I said, you know, I need to go and, you know, explore this further. And I want to thank you, because I honestly felt like you've given me my life back almost, because as you know, Arthur, we've done a talk together and stuff. And I wanted to spread the word as much as possible. I wanted to get the brand out there as much as possible. Um, Even my license plate on my car is Young Goat.
Young Goat. Yeah.
Wow.
You couldn't get. I said you couldn't get that in England for about £30,000. And how much did you pay? Like $300 or something? $30?
In the
Really?
US, $25.
Yes.
Oh, what a bargain.
I know. In the UK, you couldn't get anywhere close to that for about £50,000.
And they're like, you're not such a young goat.
Hmm.
But
I remember, Lisa, when I first read your letter, because I woke up in the morning and I checked my work emails, and I opened it and I saw this long message. And I thought, oh, what's going on here? But it, you know, really touched me, and reading all the way through everything you'd gone through, and you know, just the fact how brave you'd been, how tough you'd been,
It's the
and
strongest woman. Strongest woman.
yeah, absolutely. And, you know, what that has led to, you know, there's no need, in my eyes, there's no need for you to thank us. I'm just really glad that this has all happened because of our brand. You know, we've become friends since, and, you know, we catch up from time to time. So, you know, it's a wonderful thing. And the fact that something I sort of created with friends that inspired that and brought that together, that's just pretty cool from my point of view. So,
That just
yeah,
proves that work, and that brand linked, because that linked Lisa to you and that linked Lisa to me, and obviously that just
yeah.
keeps going. That little
and
ripple
that's
effect.
why, yeah, that's why the three of us are here. And it's interesting because when I saw Sonny, you know, I was like, oh my God, here's this guy, you know, that's all bubbly and everything. And then when him and I talked, I was like, gosh, you are really, really suffering. And I remember there were times when I couldn't get a hold of him for like days on end. And I would genuinely worry. And I'm like, okay, here's this person I've never even met in my entire life. And we just connected, but I was so genuinely worried about him. And then when he finally called me back, I was like, you're not in a good place. Like, what can I do to help? You know?
Yeah.
And I, I don't know. It was something about you, Sonny, that I don't know if it was like our personalities or what, but I've
I
watched
think I think that's because
the lowest of
from my
lows.
point of view, I saw the bubbliness in you. But after hearing your story, I thought, how has she gone through so much, and she's so positive, and she just so. And I just thought, I just need to get back there. I need to find that joy back in my heart that you have found. And every day we spoke, and every day we opened up a little bit more. I thought, I just need this woman in my life as much as possible. They can FaceTime me and call me whenever she wants. And most people, I just watch it call out and like, not today, but at least I go, yes, how are you? It's like, boom. this is where I'm on another trip. I'm like, I know you'd be doing something, but that's just like, I need that in my life. I need that joy and that. I like to see you happy as well.
Well, and two, it's funny how things, because like I feel like in my heart, I have a truly big heart and I love to give. And it probably shows with all the Young Goat merchandise I have.
It's pretty extraordinary.
My God,
Yeah.
I go through my stuff and I'm like, okay, you guys are going to totally laugh, but I probably still have the tag on this one
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
where's my
Don't take it off, because in 10 years that'll be worth
so many boxes of it. But I, I watched Sonny go from, I mean, a point where the lowest of lows, and just keep checking in and checking in and checking in. And I'm sure at some point, Sonny, you thought, this woman can't be for real. Like, this woman is lost her mind.
She's not a quitter. She's on me.
Yeah.
She's
And
on me
I
more
think,
than my own mother. I was like, crazy.
and I think Sonny's fiance too was like, this
Yeah.
chick is crazy.
Yeah, this
Like,
woman calls her all the time. I said, yeah, I know. I love her.
I'm sending his kid stuff. I'm sending, and
I was like, I got a box. She said, I sent you a parcel. I said, I got a random parcel come through. She said, oh yeah, I sent you that ages ago. That's got kids' hats and that's got partners' hats and t-shirts. I'm like, are you all right, love?
but it was funny because now I feel like, your fiance got pregnant again, you had a little girl, and I've been through all of this, and it's so much, and it's because of this, and then it's like when I sent you that game, there was a goat game. I sent you, Arthur. I sent you things from like my hometown and stuff. And I'm like,
got him.
Yeah. And, and that's what it felt like it gave me purpose. And it's just been incredible for me. And, and so I then, my niece and nephew that lost their mom, and my friend's daughter that lost her mom, these kids, I'm like, hey guys, like, you've got to represent, we've got to these on our websites and everything. And I honestly felt that it's helped so many people, more than you could ever imagine, that it's touched so many lives, and it's just been an extraordinary thing for us on the outside that you created this amazing brand for everybody.
Thank you, Lisa. That's very kind. I mean, I kind of go back to what I said earlier when I began YG, and I thought if one person could be positively impacted by the brand, then I would have done something good. And to have built it to where we were, and to receive so many of the messages that I have about people just feeling really confident in, when they go out and they see the goat on their chest and they feel good about themselves. It kind of just it still blows my mind a bit, and I'm really, really grateful that I got to sort of share that experience with. We always were so hot on the community idea and creating the herd, as we called it, because that was something I felt at university. So the fact that that stretched as far and wide as it did, and last year I did a talk to a school, in America, and I just sort of was sat in my kitchen being like, this is so surreal. I mean, how has my life led me to this moment where I'm kind of giving a talk on my brand in Colorado? Yeah, it was just kind of crazy, but the whole thing's just been a whirlwind and pretty crazy. So the fact that positive stuff's come out of it to the degree it has been awesome.
Well, and I keep saying, what's that?
I said, is that little shy boy gone? Because, like you say, would you have ever been able to stand up in front of a whole school and talk without thinking?
I don't think I would have. No.
Yeah.
No, I mean he has his moments.
I would have either.
Yeah.
As outgoing as I am, I'm like,
everybody's listening.
Talk in front of all these people, but I'm like, okay, Arthur's on the screen with me. We can do this together.
Yeah, do it together. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I was gonna say, have you thought about doing anything like this in the future, or?
I think I would love to give it another go at some point
Yeah.
because it would be a shame to lose the experience and knowledge that I've assimilated over the last 2 years, especially with regard to manufacturing. I wouldn't make the same 100 mistakes that I made. I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
make the
You got
amount of
one
mistakes we made
direction, you
is
know,
just
all your links. Yeah.
exactly. So I've got contacts, I've got a bit of experience, and I would still make mistakes, but I would just hopefully wouldn't make the same ones and
Yeah.
not the same ones to the same degree. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, I do need a little bit of a break because it is a very stressful thing running your own business, and it's very time consuming and draining, and a lot of the time you feel like you're constantly dealing with bad news.
Mm.
I do want to give it another go because it is massively rewarding. And the fact that I'm even having this conversation now on this podcast with you guys, and it all
Yeah.
started because some people who were a couple years older than me called me the goat at football practice in Bristol is just a crazy butterfly effect.
Would you bring your friends along for the next ride, or would you do it if you want to do that again, or invite them to be involved?
It's a good question. I loved some parts of working with friends, but they do say don't mix business with friends
Yeah.
because it can be quite tough on relationships where it feels like all you are talking about is the brand and all you kind of meet up to do is the brand, and then actually just sort of hanging out at the pub or doing things that aren't related to work become, I've been working with them all day, so why do I want to see them again?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to jeopardize a friendship. I think it is a difficult thing, but
Yeah.
there's if an opportunity arises and I could work with mates, because there were times when we were just sat in the garden on a sunny day in summer 21, all on our laptops, just with a beer doing some work, and we were like, right, well,
Yeah.
this is pretty
I,
lit, guys.
I did wonder why if six lads could all work together and have that mutual respect, but again, for the end where you wanted to finish at the end, everybody had to respect, and the reason why you were doing it is because you were always boosting each other. So you couldn't ever
Yeah,
put anyone's idea down. You just got to go with that and say, well, maybe, and be totally honest. And that's just mutual respect, I suppose.
Well, I can
exactly.
honestly say 6 guys could develop a clothing brand, 6 girls, no way.
Right.
There would be so many fights.
Yeah, can you imagine them parcels turning up and all the girls have got to try everything on and say, that looked better on her while he plugged in a bottle of wine? I said, never.
Yeah. Now, so you still see the boys and everything? So, okay, good. And now you
Yes,
probably see each other at the pub and you talk about football.
definitely. Exactly. You're so right. And when it all did kind of come to a halt, we said that I think this would be good for our relationships because I'll be more keen to meet up with you when I haven't just done a 12-hour workday, sat right next to you,
Yeah,
measuring clothing. So I was like, yeah, I think this will be helpful.
but I
That's a
have to
shame that
ask.
that's a shame that the word "goat" is the reason why you can't carry on. Because with your friend Ollie, you could have had Young Goat for YG, and maybe old or like OG for Ollie Goat. But in your
Yeah.
mind, it could be like Old Goat
You.
with a bigger goat, so you could have OG as well.
Well,
No,
we
there's
have
a
a restaurant in this town called OG, Old Goat. And I think I've sent you the pictures, Arthur, of it's
yeah.
got gray, goatee. But I want to know, does it suck going to work 8 to 5 every day?
Do you know what? When I first started, I was really worried because it's two polar opposites, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where I'm working for myself and I dictate my own time to then going into an office and working for someone. And it was a big transition in the first 2 weeks, getting used to that. But I think I'm quite an adaptable guy. And actually, I don't mind it that much. I think
It's not, the pressure isn't sitting all on you.
yeah, that's a nice thing. I can clock off and actually clock off. I'm not constantly thinking about work, which I was for pretty much 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a nice thing. And it is yeah, it's nice to get paid a bit more as well, to be honest.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, I keep threatening I'm going to come to the UK and take you all out. So it's on my list.
We'd love that,
Yeah.
Lise. We'd love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Come and
So
join,
you're gonna have to
Sonny.
come down
I
to
will be
us.
there. You're not coming to the UK, we're not meeting up. Definitely not.
What?
I said, you're not coming to the UK and we're not meeting up. That's a definite.
Yeah, for sure. And well, Arthur, we are so thankful that you took the time out of your day. And I just want to ask one more thing. If you have any advice to yourself 7 years ago, or to somebody else starting out with a brand, or, thinking of, getting into business for themselves or with mates or whatever, what would be your best advice to them?
So I think advice to me of 7 years ago would just be that basically everything that you do, you're pretty much the only person who thinks about it. So something that you might think is embarrassing will be forgotten by everyone else in the whole world the next day. So I know it can be really tough to dwell on those things, but I was terrified of ever making a joke at 18, because I thought, if it's not funny, everyone's going to think I'm a weirdo and everyone's just going to be awful. And I just couldn't handle it. And now, when I'm with my friends and I drop an absolute clanger, it's funny because, like,
but even if that's not funny, you can still be that friend that just goes, everyone goes, oh, come on and carry on.
Oh, exactly. It's funny because it's just such a bad joke. I mean,
yeah.
So I guess what would basically, to kind of condense that down into one point, is just, as difficult as it may be some days, do your best to get out your own head, because most of the time you're dwelling on things, it becomes a far worse experience in your mind than it ever is in reality. So that's my advice to myself as a human 7 years ago. But if I was to start a brand, I think my main piece of advice, if it was a clothing brand, I suppose quite a boring piece of advice would just to be, don't buy too much stock, because you will be you'll be swimming in it forever and ever, and it's always better to have lower inventory and be out of stock, because that also sort of generates demand as well. If things are constantly in stock and you can't shift them by doing sales, then you're in a bit of trouble, because then what do you do after the sale? You go out to full price and people go, well, I'm not buying that.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
that's one piece.
You popped up with, like, every certain month or every couple of months there was a new hoodie with new patterns and new stuff. And people are like, oh, they got the new, have you seen the new stuff? And we're like, no. And they said, yeah, mine's on order. Then people are on the website getting it. So what, you've ordered one, and that just, like you say, lures everyone. And if you had a big spread and there was all on there, you'd get a percentage of those like in your stock, not selling. So it's nice to just pop new things on and make it fresh.
For sure. Yeah, you need to drive people to the website. So these kind of consistent new little bits, that means that people they get one and they go, oh, actually, that's the old one, I don't mind getting that as well, because you're on the website. And there's just,
I like the socks are the best.
They're the best item we ever made, I think. I truly believe that.
I know, when they go from, they're the best, comfiest, loveliest socks, and in the summer they're going straight up. Lovely.
I've got one pair left that's untouched, that's still in its packet, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I feel like at some point I'll meet someone who just it'd be so amazing, and I'll give them the final pair of socks ever. But they're just in my drawer at the moment.
You wear them.
I have enough. If you want to buy a pair for me,
oh yeah, I'd love that, Lisa. Let's do that.
Oh, that's so funny.
I like your first quote about being young, because I've heard a quote kind of the same thing, where you're more worried about something that's going to happen that day, and the next day nobody remembers, but in your head you've built it up to be something. I read a quote once saying, today is tomorrow's yesterday, because tomorrow that will all be forgotten what happened today. And a lot of people don't see it that way. They just sit there and think, oh, they want to talk about this forever, but there's always something the next day what's more important, and the only person is you who make that such a dramatic thing.
Yeah, exactly. You dwell
So it's
on
best
it.
to just do them silly things and get out of your head. And if people judge
Yeah.
you so much for it, they're not the people you want around you anyway. You want the ones saying, "Oh, I didn't remember yesterday, so I forgot about it." But then that's it; it's done.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always end our podcast with a quote that is fitting for what we're talking about. And I was looking to find a quote about finding friends unexpectedly, mental, like all this stuff. And I'm like, well, hell, there isn't a category for what, So I made my own quote today. And
Oh,
it is invest in a friendship. You will never know where it will lead. And I think this is such an unexpected friendship. And I am lucky enough to, I call you guys my friends. And it was just over that little letter that I wrote to Arthur, and he responded that life changed, and
yeah.
so thank you, Arthur. Thank you for coming on here, and thank you for everything you guys did. And I would love to be a part of the next brand, whatever that may
Yeah.
be.
We better get some ideas, Lisa, and chuck him his
Yeah.
way.
So, but yeah, so thank you for being on here, Arthur.
No, thank you for having me.
What your
It's been a
company
pleasure.
done.
I
Yeah.
know. I thought you were going to be American for some reason. When I spoke to Lisa,
Did you?
I
Oh,
always thought
never.
you were American. Yeah, I asked Lisa, did they do Young Goat in the UK? And I think she said, "I'm sure they do." And I was like, "Well, I've never seen it until you told me." And then I was like, "Oh," and only now I realise you're English.
No, 100% British.
Yeah,
And
British boy.
it's so funny because I was in a golf tournament 5 hours south of where we live, and Morgan, the girl that lost her mom and my best friend, we were head to toe in Young Goat. And this guy comes up to us and he goes, "What is this?" And we're like, "Oh, it's Young Goat," and we're telling him about the brand. He goes, "It seems like it's the new hip thing. I probably should go get some," right? I'm like, yeah.
You can pitch that on a golf course though. You can see all the golfers wearing that because that's just like
Yeah. Well, and
not
that
too
was
much. It's
my
just
idea because, I started this foundation for my sister and we just became a 501c3. And my dream was to do her golf tournament and YG be on the
Oh,
golf shirts.
would have been amazing.
Someday.
Someday, Lise.
All right, Arthur. Thank you so
thank you, Arthur.
much.
Thanks,
And
guys.
we'll keep in touch. All right, take care.
Take care.
Have a good
Bye.
one. Bye.